Masters of the Universe was a horrific flop at the box office, actually even worse than The Mandalorian and Grogu. We're trying to figure out what the heck is going on behind the scenes and who the fans are. There's one guy who can tell us better than just about anybody out there, and it's Scott Neithlich. He's here to lead us through his experience with Masters of the Universe and the toy lines there. Scott, we see you, you see us. Scott, help us see what's going on with this franchise. Is it cobwebbed? Is it in the dust? Or are there plenty of fans still out there ready to go?
Well, thanks for having me. Big fan of the channel. Long time listener, first time joiner.
Love it.
Wow. So yeah, for people out there in internet's land, I was the brand manager over Masters of the Universe at Mattel for about 10 years. And that was specifically over the adult collector stuff, the classics line, right? That, highly articulated Marvel Legends style stuff. So here's the thing about He-Man fans. And I've been very blessed in my career. I've worked on Star Wars toys and Marvel and DC and Ninja Turtle and Power Ranger. I mean, the whole, Megillah of all the big brands. He-Man fans are very different from every other called toy fan base that I've worked with. And that's there's two things. One is that Masters of the Universe as a brand has kind of like ebbed and flowed more than anything else, right? Barbie's never left the toy aisle. Transformers, more or less, has not left the toy aisle. He-Man, or Masters of the Universe, has left the toy aisle multiple times. They have gone from billion-dollar brands to losing Mattel money. And what I guess we would call like sort of those dark times when the brand was out of retail, the fans really, that's when they, those are the time periods when they came together, and like when the internet was starting in the 90s. He-Man fans kind of sort of were creating some of the first toy fan websites. So because of this, He-Man fans have very much a sense of ownership over the brand, because they feel like if they hadn't been there during the dark times, not to be Star Warsy, then the brand wouldn't exist. To be fair, they probably do deserve a lot of the credit for that, if you will. So that's issue one, is that they feel like they kept it alive in those times. The second issue is there's not that many of them. And I know you're going to be like, whoa, no, there's got to be millions of He-Man. I'm sure there are millions of He-Man fans out there. But I will tell you factually, when I was at Mattel, I rarely had to use Mattel's analytics department that does all the math and, figure stuff out, because we weren't selling at Walmart or Target. We were selling online through a subscription model. So we knew how many units we were making. We didn't need to, figure out all that data, how many potential customers. But what I did have the analytics group do is analyze the He-Man fan sites, specifically the message boards. So as an example, we took a 30-day period in the summer, like June or July, and we asked the analytics department to do a huge deep dive and go through every single post. And what they found was there were something like 2,500 posts in the course of 30 days, all posted by 27 people. And that is a perfect example of how the internet can make fan bases seem louder than they are numerous. He-Man fans, hugely passionate. But at the end of the day, look at the box office. They barely made $30 million in opening weekend, versus Force Awakens, was well over, 100. That's your core audience, whoever goes opening weekend. And
so let's talk about that for a minute, Scott. So as someone who has helped manage the brand and knows it inside and out, is there a way to broaden Masters of the Universe? Because the attempts in the past have been very poorly received. But those also, I think, they desaturated what the whole thing is about. We don't want to get into that too much, but is there a way to broaden the appeal while still keeping what made it special in the first place? Or is it the case that the franchise was taken away from its roots and that's what has caused it to be less appreciated today? Does it need to go back to something that already had broader appeal?
I think the two simple ways of answering that is the brand really hurt itself, I think, with the Netflix shows. The Kevin Smith show, there's nothing worse than getting caught being lied to. Fans hate that. No one wants to get lied to. And the kids show,
just for the audience who may not be aware of what happened there, can you explain what the lie was that Kevin Smith told before the show came out?
Oh, so he said that it would be a direct sequel to Filmation, which it wasn't. And that just spiraled, and it was also, the show was very woke. They were quoting Star Wars and they also bait and switched Tila. They said it would be a He-Man show, but it wasn't. It was a Tila show, which was fine. You could make a Tila show. I'd watch a Tila show, but call it, The Merry Adventures of Tila. That's awesome. I'll watch that. So yeah, they lied saying it'd be a continuation and that it would be a He-Man show. He-Man got killed off in the first episode and doesn't get resurrected to the last. And all of the middle was Tila doing, wacky Tila things with her girl pal. Quoting Star Wars lines. Why would you quote Star Wars in Wizards? This isn't Clerks, okay, Kevin Smith? I love you, but this is not Clerks. So as far as could it be big again, they have to find a better emotional storyline. And by that, I mean, this movie wound up being a cartoon in the end, literally, spoiler alert, Orko shows up and they start playing the theme music. But the core emotional journey was supposed to be a father-son, right? There's one scene in the beginning with Randor and Adam where Randor's disappointed in him. And there's one scene at the end where they're coming together and nothing in the middle. And that's what Hollywood always calls the emotional center of a movie. A great example is Transformers. The first Transformers movie had a fantastic emotional center. My first car. Everybody could relate to that. But the father-son relationship that they did, it was barely in the movie.
Is that the secret sauce of the franchise? Is the father-son relationship?
Well, that's the thing. No, exactly. I'll tell you what the secret sauce is. Okay. I know we're running close here. It's the Adam, Tila, Man-at-Arms. Mm-hmm. Because you've got Adam and Tila, romantic relationship. Adam, Man-at-Arms, trainer, trainee. Man-at-Arms, Tila, father-daughter. That's the core emotion of the Masters universe right there. And it's perfect for Hollywood. And how they missed this, it's like right in front of their face. Like, you just had to do the one thing. Just the one, make it a 4-quadrant movie, and instead they just leaned into 50-year-old men, and that's all they got.
Okay, so let me ask this then: is the reason they couldn't do that? Is it because of the quota systems that they've had, where they have to have so much representation in this area or that area, veteran preferences, et cetera, and they don't like to do heterosexual relationships in the way that they enjoyed portraying those in the 80s? Like, there's also the disgust with the patriarchy, so you can't have a good father-son relationship. What do you think, Scott? What's causing them to miss that? It's so obvious. It's so clear. So how do they not see it?
That's the $1 million question. And I think that they were just so convinced that, it was like with Force Awakens. You can't screw up Star Wars. You can't screw up He-Man. I think they just went in feeling like, again, like at the point I made at the beginning of this segment, is the He-Man fans are louder than they are numerous. So I think they were under the impression that they could just put out whatever the hell they wanted, and as long as you label slap Star Wars or He-Man on it, you will get an audience. But at the end of the day, the He-Man audience is just so much smaller than people think.
Well, the Star Wars audience, same thing, though. I mean, listen, the idea that you can take anything and, okay, it's like serving, let's say that I order Coca-Cola and you put Sprite in the bottle. I might like Sprite, but I ordered Coca-Cola and I want the Coca-Cola in the bottle. And so if you distill what it is and that it's supposed to be the substance of the thing that you're selling me that I like, and you say, well, it's still got the same label. I'm sorry. I don't care if the label on the bottle is the same. It's not the same liquid. Same thing with Star Wars. You can keep the Star Wars label on it. You can have the little spaceships look the same. It's not under Disney the same Star Wars, and people want the Star Wars. And it's the same thing with He-Man, right? I think that's what we see is the label is not sufficient.
Exactly. Yeah, and you can't count on the label for people showing up anymore because they've diluted everything so much.
Right. The idea was we can maintain, and this is the same thing with Marvel when they did what they called the mantle strategy, but it's the same idea that all we need is the iconography, but we don't need the substance behind the iconography. We don't have to understand the product even. We can even hate the product. We can mock the product so long as the iconography exists because the consumers will consume. That's what they do. Mo, any thoughts on this? This is really fascinating to me that Hollywood missed the entire meaning of the franchise.
Yeah, and the thing is the movie's enjoyable, and they actually did a really good job with the sound design and the CGI. Like, it had weight; it was good. Like, there was stuff there. But yeah, as far as somebody who grew up with He-Man, I was at the very end of it. I was like around 4 or 5 years old. I remember riding my bike to my friend's house to listen to the read along record. That's like I'm at the end, and I'm at the latter end of my 40s. It's just like Scott is absolutely right. Like, it's just there's no we're very, very loud fans. I loved He-Man. That was my first cartoon I saw when I was growing up. But there's not enough of us, and a lot of us have, Scott and I have. I'm about to have a teenager, yay! But it's just like it's hard to pass along that love after it's been so long. And there's properties like Transformers and G.I. Joe and things like that kind of took over and have had way more staying power and way better brand management and stuff like that. And it's just like it's just a hard push. But the movie was it was fun and I loved it. I gave it a very good rating. But it was too goofy. It was self-referential. They were trying to put in the memes that people remember from the early 2000s. And it was just like there were certain parts where I felt like they almost had it and they just kept going goofy and goofy and goofy. And that was the worst part about the movie, is they leaned into the memes more than to the subject matter, because it can be a 50-year-old property, but if you do it right, people will come and watch it. Like, look at Top Gun Maverick. It freaking came out 36 years after the original, and I love that movie. I think it's better than the original, honestly, but you can do it. You just have to have a good story underneath, and everything that Scott said was absolutely right. I mean, I don't know if I could build on top of that any more than he did.
Actually, I do have a question. You brought up the memes, Mo, but Scott, as someone who is fully aware of the fan community there, did the fan community actually like the memes, or was that something that was taken and run with by a completely different set of people? Because I know that the advertising for this movie leaned into the He-Man memes from the 2000s.
Yeah, I think the fans they lean to they went. That's not part of the brand, or those memes. So adding that to the movie and making the memes now part of the brand, I think was the wrong message to send. In fact, we were actually banned from doing kind of joke product when we were going to do a baby Skeletor for Robot Chicken, and it got all the way through development into production, and they pulled the plug at the last minute because they were meeting with directors that month on the He-Man movie. This was 10 years ago, and they didn't want joke product out there because they wanted people to take the brand seriously. That's how much it's changed.
That's so fascinating to go from the brand being protected to whatever this is. And it reminds me of the Brady Bunch movies that were put into theaters, where I don't know who the massive Brady Bunch fans are. I wouldn't think they would have the vociferous fan base of something like He-Man that's built around a heroic archetype. But if somebody showed up to the Brady Bunch movies expecting something that was, reverential to the original, instead of they got something that was actively mocking the original show for the entire time, I'd imagine they wouldn't be very happy.
Yeah, there you go.
Scott, 2 final questions for you. There are those who say this is okay because Amazon's going to make a lot of money in toy sales and it's going to go to the top of the charts. I don't know that I agree with that. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And then the second question is, if you're advising Mattel today what they need to do with this franchise going forward, can it be saved, and what's the path to getting this back to relevancy after the flop?
Well, if you're looking at taking a property and selling it as toys, you've got to be selling it to kids. Adult collectors are great, and they have made more of the market since COVID significantly, but they're still not there. That you cannot be in the main toy aisle at a Target and Walmart without kid sales. That's why they have that back thing behind the electronics for adult collectors, because of the number of units that have to move in order to justify the peg space. So for Mattel, they have to do something for kids. They have to get the next generation into this. They can't just put out Kevin Smith cartoons and joke movies and expect the property to thrive. It has to find children and the next generation. So their best shot was that the Blue Neithlich show, the one that was for kids. I mean, Blue that was the packaging on the toys. It was the CGI one with all the hyper anime, blah blah blah, where Ram Man was a girl, Ram Am, Anyway, regardless, that was their best shot. That had to work. And that not working was to me much worse than the movie not working.
So you think this becomes a very niche property, semi-dormant going forward?
Oh, 100%. Unless Amazon just wants to burn money and make a She-Ra movie.
That's a shame. That's a shame. Is there a fix? Could they do something tomorrow and say, we've got a 5-year plan? Or are we past that with Masters of the Universe?
There'll always be adult collectors, and you'll notice that they always sell the same 15 figures at retail. MOTU should be sold online. That's where they can do a vast, deep dive. You just can't do that at retail. And the only thing they can do is put out new content for kids, and it should be a cartoon on it.
And not whatever that Netflix monstrosity of She-Ra was.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. That was for adults. They need to make a kids cartoon show like Filmation was, and actually make it for kids.
There you go, folks. Get it going. Get it going for kids. Castle Grayskull is only interesting if the kids are buying it in the first place. So sell to the kiddos, or else it's a no-go for MOTU anymore. One of the greatest things we get to do each and every day is speak out and reach out to folks who don't know how entertainment works. And frankly, we think entertainment matters so much. It's why we do what we do. And you can help us send this out to even more folks. Click that like button, share, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. And wouldn't you know it, folks, we're even on Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/WDW Pro. We've got to go, but until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.